Welcome to Legacy of Blood. Tonight we step into a shadowy corner of America's early history, back to the days when the young republic was just finding its balance and bold, or perhaps sinister, figures seized their chances to build fortunes. The Constitution's ink had scarcely dried, the echoes of liberty still rang across the 13 states, yet in Charleston's drawing rooms and hidden alleys, a different kind of murmur began to circulate. Murmurs about a family whose ascent to power defied any natural logic. Murmurs of strange midnight meetings and eerie lights flickering over the marshlands. Murmurs of individuals who simply vanished without explanation. This is the chilling story of the Bellamy Dynasty and the clandestine cult that fueled their millions. The year was 1790. Along South Carolina's coast, wealth shimmered from rice plantations and bustling sea trade. The Revolution had ended, leaving behind a fledgling nation brimming with promise and ruthless ambition. Charleston streets hummed with merchants, sailors, politicians, and planters, all carefully balancing the old aristocratic traditions against emerging democratic ideals. Carriages rattled across cobblestones, splashing through puddles from sudden afternoon storms. Elegant ladies in silk gowns promenaded under parasols, while gentlemen in tailored waistcoats and breeches conducted business on the exchange building steps. Yet beneath that polished surface of civility, ancient forces stirred in the distant swamps and forests. Fragments of old beliefs blended with fresh superstitions. Enslaved people from West Africa quietly passed tales to their children of spirits and powers forever beyond their white master's grasp. And behind locked drawing-room doors, certain wealthy men and women secretly explored mysteries far removed from their public Christian faith. No one understood those mysteries more intimately than the Bellamy family of Raven's Rest Plantation, roughly 20 miles northwest of Charleston. Their stately white-columned mansion crowned a gentle hill, encircled by endless fields of Carolina gold rice that rippled to the horizon like a shimmering green-gold ocean under the southern wind. By daylight the estate embodied classic southern opulence and refined living. By night, especially beneath a full moon, it transformed into something altogether different. Thaddeus Bellamy reached the colonies in 1760, a man of limited means but remarkable vision. Maritime records in Charleston describe him as a London merchant, around 30, owning just one vessel. That ship, the Midnight Star, was a weathered three-masted schooner, its hull crusted with barnacles, its sails patched countless times. Yet within 12 months of arrival, Thaddeus had secured a lucrative trade circuit linking Charleston, Jamaica, and Barbados. While other merchants lost vessels to gales or pirates, the Midnight Star invariably returned laden with exotic goods commanding top prices. Some claimed Thaddeus possessed an almost supernatural knack for reading weather patterns, always dispatching his ship just ahead of favorable winds and recalling it before storms struck. Others suspected secret pacts with the pirates who haunted those routes, trading something far more valuable than mere cargo for safe passage. A few voices whispered darker possibilities, that Thaddeus performed private rituals in his counting house as the moon darkened, ensuring favorable conditions through unnatural means. Within 10 years he stood among Charleston's notable merchants. The Midnight Star had gained 5 sister ships, all crossing the Atlantic with uncanny success. His East Bay Street counting house employed a dozen clerks, and despite his obscure origins, his name appeared on the rolls of the elite St. Cecilia Society. When pressed about his English family, Thaddeus offered only a thin, tight-lipped smile before deftly changing the subject, leaving questioners with the clear sense that further probing would be unwise. By 1775, as revolutionary passion swept the colonies, Thaddeus had accumulated enough wealth to purchase Raven's Rest, a declining plantation whose owner, Sir William Hargrove, had fled to England fearing the coming war. The estate lay neglected, fields untended, slave quarters half-empty, the once proud main house peeling and overgrown. Most unsettling to locals was the ancient stone structure standing at the property's edge, a relic some attributed to Spanish explorers, others insisted predated any European arrival entirely. The nearby Cusan Natchez tribe shunned the building, naming it the house where shadows live. Hargrove had used it merely as storage, though his overseer confided that the master never entered after dark. Thaddeus, however, showed immediate fascination with the structure. Days after taking possession, he ordered it cleared, refurbished, fitted with iron wall brackets, and centered with a heavy oak table in its single room. When asked about his intentions, Thaddeus explained it would serve as a specialized processing facility for an innovative rice strain requiring precise handling during specific lunar phases. The purchase stirred whispers in Charleston society. Despite his riches, Thaddeus remained an outsider, a merchant aspiring to planter aristocracy. Moreover, acquiring land as tensions with Britain escalated struck many as reckless. Rice plantations demanded heavy labor, and war would inevitably disrupt both workers and markets. Yet Thaddeus pressed forward with renovations and additional slave purchases, displaying the calm certainty of someone who already knew the future's shape. While neighboring plantations struggled through the war, Raven's Rest thrived. The British blockade choking Charleston's harbor barely touched Thaddeus's operations. His ship somehow slipped through, delivering supplies he distributed strategically to cultivate favor and influence. During the 1780 British occupation of Charleston, he maintained polite relations with officers while quietly feeding intelligence to Continental forces. When the occupation lifted, patriots welcomed him equally warmly. His wartime loyalty appeared unquestionable, despite his English roots. Even more astonishing was the plantation's prosperity. Thaddeus evaded British patrols with eerie precision. His crops never failed, even when drought or flood ruined neighbors. The enslaved workers at Raven's Rest, initially sullen and resistant, labored with an almost unnatural efficiency. They moved through fields in haunting silence, eyes lowered, obeying overseers instantly. Visitors remarked on their odd demeanor, but Thaddeus merely smiled and credited his progressive management methods. Once monthly, on the new moon, Thaddeus selected one of the strongest male slaves for what he termed special duties inside the stone building. Those men never rejoined the quarters. When questioned, Thaddeus claimed they had been transferred to his ships or sold inland. The remaining enslaved never mentioned the missing, not even in private whispers. That collective silence unnerved observers more than anything else. By 1790 Raven's Rest sprawled across more than 5,000 acres, yielding the region's finest Carolina gold rice. The decaying manor had become a monument to wealth and taste, its gleaming white columns, imported furnishings, and art collection dazzling visitors. Formal gardens encircled the house, filled with exotic plants that improbably flourished in Carolina's climate, their strange blossoms perfuming the night with heavy sweetness. Thaddeus cut a commanding figure, tall, lean, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to peer through rather than at people. At 60 he retained a vitality envied by men half his age. His once mahogany hair had silvered at the temples, lending him a distinguished air. His scholar's hands, long-fingered, uncalloused, nails immaculate, contrasted with his planter-merchant life. Most striking was his voice, deep, melodic, capable of charming tough negotiators or calming frightened children. When Thaddeus spoke, listeners often found themselves agreeing to terms they had never intended. His wife Constance, 20 years younger, possessed raven hair and alabaster skin, rarely leaving the plantation. She entered Charleston society soon after the war, presented as the daughter of a French New Orleans merchant Thaddeus met on business. Their swift marriage lacked the usual courtship. Gossip hinted Constance had been pregnant, though no child appeared until a full year later. Reserved where Thaddeus was outgoing, Constance spoke little at rare social events, watching with dark, knowing eyes that unsettled many. She dressed fashionably yet always in midnight blues, deep purples, and blacks that made her pale skin glow by candlelight. Around her neck hung an unusual silver pendant etched with unrecognizable symbols. When asked, she would touch it lightly and murmur it was a priceless family heirloom never to be removed. They had 3 children, Nathaniel, 25, the eldest, inheriting his father's commanding height, Victoria, 22, echoing her mother's ethereal beauty, and young Thomas, 16, blending both parents' features with Thaddeus's piercing eyes set in Constance's delicate face. The Bellamys earned widespread gratitude through philanthropy, funding churches, schools, and charities. Thaddeus donated a grand pipe organ to St. Michael's in 1787, Constance generously supported the new Charleston orphan house, Victoria patronized a school for daughters of less wealthy gentlemen, Nathaniel funded a hospital wing. Few questioned the apparently bottomless source of their wealth, accepting Thaddeus's claims of shrewd investments and superior plantation management. At lavish Raven's Rest gatherings, Charleston's elite marveled at the family's art and antiquities collection, Egyptian canopic jars with animal-headed lids, Grecian amphorae depicting Bacchanalian scenes, African masks whose expressions seemed to shift angles, pre-Columbian carvings of unsettling rituals. Thaddeus guided tours with pride, recounting acquisition tales hinting at dangers overcome and forbidden knowledge gained, always stopping short of impropriety, presenting himself as a scholarly explorer of ancient religions and afterlife beliefs. Guests usually found his enthusiasm charming, if slightly eccentric for a planter merchant. The evening's highlight was dinner in the grand room beneath a Venetian crystal chandelier. The table, seating 30, gleamed with silver and fine china. Liveried footmen served French vintages and dishes prepared by a New Orleans chef. Some flavors felt unfamiliar even to seasoned travelers. When complimented, Thaddeus smiled enigmatically, crediting rare ingredients from distant traders or Caribbean herbalists. Yet persistent whispers trailed the family like shadows. Why did Raven's Rest laborers never flee when runaways plagued other plantations? Why did Thaddeus preserve that crumbling stone structure locals called the Witch House? And what transpired during new moon nights when no visitors were allowed and even trusted servants were confined indoors? Our tale truly begins with Dr. Jonathan Blackwood's arrival in early 1790. Edinburgh trained, he had fled Scotland after a scandal involving forbidden research into reanimating dead tissue, inspired by Luigi Galvani's work on animal electricity. Blackwood was a man of science in an era when lines between science, philosophy, and occult remained blurred. His later discovered journals reveal a mind rejecting conventional limits. There must be more to life and death than the Church admits. The electrical fluid animating muscles, the essence vanishing at our final breath, these are natural processes awaiting understanding, and what can be understood can be controlled. Tall, broad-shouldered, with prematurely white hair contrasting his youthful features, Blackwood dressed simply yet elegantly in dark tones. His steady surgeon's hands and keen gray eyes missed nothing. His faint Edinburgh burr charmed Charlestonians. He quickly built a practice, blending traditional and innovative treatments, especially effective against fevers and infections with his custom tinctures. Some patients reported odd dreams afterward, but most considered it a minor price for recovery. At a spring ball celebrating South Carolina's Constitution ratification, he first met Victoria Bellamy. Amid glittering chandeliers, jewels, and minuets, Victoria stood apart, her beauty intensified by an aura of cool intensity. In deep crimson gown, edging toward black in candlelight, cut daringly low by local standards, she wore a silver pendant similar to her mother's but bearing different angular symbols. When their eyes met, Blackwood felt an inexplicable jolt of recognition. Something unspoken passed between them. He approached, they danced. Their graceful minuet drew every eye. They communicated more through glances and subtle hand pressure than words. Afterward Victoria smiled, transforming her face from lovely to luminous. "You're not like the others, Dr. Blackwood," she murmured. "You see beyond the veil most men never notice." And what veil is that, Miss Bellamy? The comforting illusion that we truly understand our world and our place within it. She glanced at the crowd. These people inhabit a dollhouse of their own construction, pretending their lives matter, while far greater powers and purposes move around them. Her dark eyes returned to his. I believe you already sense this. Before he could reply, Thaddeus appeared, silver-streaked hair catching candlelight. Victoria, my dear, introduce me to your new friend, he said, though his tone implied he already knew precisely who Blackwood was. In the following days Victoria's enigmatic words haunted Blackwood, stirring his own discontent with ordinary explanations of life's mysteries. Having come to America seeking freedom from Europe's rigid thought, he wondered if the unorthodox Bellamys might hold answers he had overlooked. He began visiting Raven's Rest, ostensibly to treat minor household ailments, but really hoping to glimpse the captivating young woman again. His first call answered a summons. Constance suffered migraines while the family's usual physician was unavailable. Arriving one late April morning amid magnolia scent and bee hum, Blackwood was met by a middle-aged slave whose face showed no expression, not even the usual deferential mask. The man's unfocused eyes seemed to look through rather than at him, his voice came flat and mechanical. The mistress awaits in her chambers, doctor. Follow me. Inside, Raven's Rest swallowed sound. Thick carpets and heavy drapes created church-like hush rather than domestic bustle. Constance's bedroom remained in controlled twilight, windows layered with curtains, air heavy with exotic incense unlike Christian frankincense. She lay on the canopied bed, dark hair fanned across pillows, pale skin almost glowing. Dr. Blackwood, she murmured, voice surprisingly strong for someone supposedly debilitated by headaches. How gracious of you to come. The examination felt strangely reversed, Constance answering questions with cryptic remarks seemingly meant to probe rather than inform. When asked about headache duration, she smiled, time is remarkably elastic, wouldn't you say, doctor? What seems moments to one mind may stretch into eternities for another. Describing the pain's quality, she called it the pressure of knowledge demanding release. Throughout, Blackwood sensed he was the one under scrutiny. At one point she gripped his wrist firmly, feeling his pulse. Your heart maintains such steady rhythm, doctor. It speaks of discipline, or perhaps blood carrying something extra. Thaddeus appeared amused by Blackwood's interest in Victoria, even inviting him to several family dinners. At one such meal Blackwood first noticed peculiarities, a strange silver cup tea consumed before eating, bearing unrecognizable symbols, servants moving in eerie unison, eyes never meeting family or guests, and, most unsettling, as Thaddeus raised a toast, his mirror reflection seemed to linger motionless a fraction too long. After dinner the men retired to Thaddeus's study, a remarkable chamber lined floor to ceiling with books in Greek, Hebrew, Arabic, and stranger scripts. Glass cases held museum-worthy artifacts, iridescent Egyptian scarabs, Roman coins with blind emperors, ancient arrowheads still sharp, cuneiform tablets, and most striking, a curved dagger whose blade absorbed rather than reflected light, its dark flexible handle wrapped in gold-inscribed wire. The room smelled of leather, parchment, tobacco, and beeswax, a scholarly haven belying its strange contents. Thaddeus poured fine brandy. You strike me as a man of broad learning, Dr. Blackwood. Edinburgh's medical school is renowned, yet I sense your studies ventured beyond standard texts. Blackwood sipped carefully, the liquor excellent. Medicine must embrace new ideas to progress. Some of my Scottish research was deemed unorthodox. Unorthodox enough to require departure, I gather. Thaddeus smiled, teeth unnaturally white and perfect. No need for concern. Charleston is far less rigid than Edinburgh. Here a visionary may pursue interests free of outdated constraints. He leaned forward, blue eyes reflecting firelight. Have you continued those experiments in America? The direct question startled Blackwood. He had been discreet. Thaddeus continued smoothly, I make it my business to know interesting newcomers, especially those whose minds might appreciate the knowledge I've gathered. He gestured to the shelves. These volumes hold wisdom most cannot grasp, secrets of life, death, time, dimension, and powers the Church has long tried to bury. Blackwood noted a small bird-headed statue of greenish metal that shifted hue in firelight. Thaddeus lifted it reverently. A gift from a New Orleans associate, representing one of the Loa, Vodou spirits brought by the Africans. Old gods. Hungry gods. This one guards crossroads and transitions between worlds. In Haiti they call him Baron Samedi, though he bears far older names. Passing it to Blackwood, the object felt surprisingly heavy and cold. For an instant the figure seemed to turn its gaze toward him, then the illusion vanished. Remarkable detail, Blackwood murmured, returning it. Primitive cultures hold knowledge that would astonish our civilized world, Thaddeus said. They recognize our perceived reality as mere surface over deeper truths, entities and energies beyond ordinary senses. His smile failed to touch his eyes. Do you believe in old gods, Doctor? The question hung heavy. Blackwood weighed his reply. I believe human history stretches longer and stranger than current philosophies admit. Whether our ancestors worshipped powers were divine or simply natural forces they lacked words for remains open. Thaddeus's smile widened. A diplomatic response. Yet some truths require direct experience. He toasted open minds and new discoveries. Before Blackwood could answer, Nathaniel burst in, face flushed, clothing disheveled, expression mixing panic and resignation. Father, there's been an incident at the witch house. Jenkins says it cannot wait until morning. Thaddeus transformed instantly, the charming host replaced by cold calculation. Eyes darkening, posture coiling. What incident? Nathaniel glanced uneasily at Blackwood. One subject reacted unexpectedly to the treatment. Jenkins tried standard corrections without success. Thaddeus set his glass down deliberately. Less than an hour ago. The pattern is unprecedented. A shadow of irritation, or concern, crossed his face. Excuse me, Doctor. Nathaniel will entertain you. He swept out. Nathaniel poured brandy with shaking hands, drained it, refilled. Unlike his father's graceful menace, Nathaniel moved abruptly, forcefully. He turned to Blackwood with a grimace-like smile. So you're the doctor calling on my sister. Victoria mentions you often. I admire Miss Bellamy greatly, Blackwood replied carefully. Nathaniel snorted. Too remarkable, some would say. She takes after father. He studied Blackwood narrowly. What exactly are your intentions toward her? Honorable ones. I value her conversation. Beyond that I would never presume without your father's approval. Nathaniel refilled again. A word of advice, Doctor. Certain things about this family would disturb you. Victoria belongs to our circle, not outsiders. Best direct your attention elsewhere. The warning only sharpened Blackwood's curiosity. What circle? What secrets would unsettle a man of science? Before he could probe, a scream tore across the grounds, raw agony, dissolving from words, please, no, into pure suffering that prickled Blackwood's skin. The cry echoed, then cut off abruptly, leaving ringing silence. Nathaniel's glass shattered on the floor, brandy splashing. He stared toward the rear property, toward the witch house. What in God's name was that? Blackwood demanded, rising, instincts urging him toward the source. Nothing, Nathaniel answered too quickly. Likely a kitchen boy scalded himself. Nothing for you to worry about. That was no kitchen accident, Blackwood insisted. Someone is in severe distress. As a physician, you should finish your brandy and prepare to leave, Nathaniel cut in, tone hardening. The roads turn treacherous after dark. Our overseer handles servant injuries. Tension stretched tight. Blackwood recognized dismissal, pressing further would end his access. Yet the scream had ignited both professional duty and deeper human concern. Someone suffered terribly, Nathaniel's lie implicated the family. Perhaps I should speak with your father before going, Blackwood said carefully. Father is occupied and cannot be disturbed, Nathaniel snapped, rising swiftly. I insist, your horse is being brought. Recognizing resistance would close doors permanently, Blackwood departed. A silent slave escorted him, another held his horse. Mist rose from fields, veiling trees. Moonlight lit the path, though shadows pooled beneath live oaks. As he prepared to mount, a pale figure darted between columns, Victoria, white dress billowing like mist, dark hair loose. She glanced nervously toward the house. Dr. Blackwood, a moment, please. He stepped into oak shadow. Up close her eyes held fear, or excitement, or both. Breathing rapid, cheeks flushed. Beneath floral perfume lay a metallic tang, like blood. Miss Bellamy, I heard. You must never return here, she whispered urgently. Father, the things he does, you cannot know. For your safety, forget me. Her fingers dug into his arm, nails pressing hard. Near her hairline Blackwood glimpsed tiny markings, tattoos or scars, matching symbols on the silver cups. Victoria, are you in danger? Is someone harming you? She laughed without humor. Harming me? No, doctor. I am becoming. We are all becoming. Her gaze shifted toward the witch house. But not everyone survives the process. Not everyone proves worthy. What process? You're not making sense. The covenant, she breathed, leaning close enough that lips nearly brushed his ear. The older ones demand sacrifice for their gifts. Father promised 13 souls by next dark moon. Tonight was preparation. She pulled back, eyes desperate. He sees something useful in you. If he invites you to a ceremony, refuse. No matter the offer, no matter how tempting, refuse. With that she hurried away, leaving Blackwood more determined than ever to uncover Raven's Rest's secrets. As he rode back under waning moon, Victoria's warning fueled rather than deterred him, awakening the same relentless curiosity that once drove his Edinburgh research. The road felt unnaturally quiet, no travelers, even night creatures silent. Several times he sensed watching eyes from roadside shadows. Once a peripheral movement made him rein in sharply, only mist between moonlit trees. He reached Charleston's edge past midnight. Near the Sailor's Rest Tavern, shouting erupted, glass shattered, and a figure staggered out, collapsing in the road. Blackwood dismounted. In tavern light he saw a bruised sailor, salt-stained clothes marking his trade. Terror filled the man's eyes. Help me, they're after me, they know I saw. Saw what? The ship, Bellamy's ship, docks where no record exists. I was on watch. Saw them unload, not cargo, chained people, but not for ordinary sale. Something worse. Eyes widening past Blackwood, they're coming, God help me. 3 men approached from the tavern, moving with the same eerie synchronicity Blackwood had seen among Raven's Rest servants. Expressionless, gazes locked on the sailor. One held coiled rope, another a cudgel. Blackwood stepped between them. This man requires medical care. I am Dr. Jonathan Blackwood. I am taking him under my care. The men paused, exchanging silent glances. The cudgel-bearer spoke flatly. This matter does not concern you, doctor. The man is drunk and disorderly. We return him to his ship. His injuries suggest otherwise. If an offense occurred, address it through proper authorities. Until then he is my patient. Tension hung, Blackwood acutely aware he was outnumbered, armed only with surgical tools. Then, unexpectedly, the men withdrew. Very well, doctor. But Mr. Bellamy will hear of this interference. They retreated in unsettling unison. Blackwood helped the sailor onto his horse and led him to his Trad Street home and surgery. The man lapsed into semi-consciousness, muttering about eyes in darkness and hungry ones below. Examination showed minor external injuries, but rapid thready pulse, clammy skin, pinpoint pupils suggesting drugging. Blackwood administered a sedative, then documented the night's events. Connections formed: Bellamy's odd behavior, servant's unnatural state, Victoria's warnings, now this sailor's terror and pursuing men. Something dark extended from Raven's Rest to Thaddeus's shipping. The following week Blackwood treated merchant Elijah Parker for gout. Parker supplied goods to many plantations, including Raven's Rest. Corpulent, shrewd-eyed, Parker dealt profitably in anything lucrative. Damnable affliction, Parker grumbled as Blackwood bandaged the swollen foot. Blackwood steered conversation to Bellamy's. Parker envied their immunity to misfortune. Thaddeus arrived with one barely seaworthy ship. Now one of South Carolina's richest. During war, when everyone struggled, Raven's Rest only grew. Ain't natural. Parker lowered his voice. Ships never meet pirates. Crops never fail. Investments always profit. During occupation British left his property untouched, while he fed information to Continentals. Should have hanged as spy, emerged richer. He leaned closer. And he hardly ages. Look same as when I met him years ago. My father told old world tales of devil pacts for wealth and long life. Sometimes I wonder. Blackwood laughed it off, though his mind raced. His Edinburgh studies had explored folklore alongside medicine, noting persistent cross-cultural patterns. Parker continued, in '82 a slave revolt was planned along Ashley River. Betrayed, ringleaders captured, most executed publicly. But Raven's Rests, Thaddeus handled personally. Took them to that stone building. No one saw them again. Weeks afterward smoke rose day and night, and the smell. He shuddered. Not burning flesh. Sweeter. Cloying. Like flowers rotting in summer heat. Blackwood finished treatment silently, mind churning. Reluctant to accept supernatural causes, yet evidence mounted, servants' vacant obedience, Thaddeus's unsensed reflection, strange tea, symbols, disappearances centered on the witch house. The sailor's words echoed, not ordinary slaves, something worse. Were Bellamy's importing people for dark purposes beyond slavery? What was Victoria's mentioned covenant demanding 13 souls? That evening Blackwood wrote his Edinburgh colleague inquiring about occult colonial connections. While awaiting reply, he gathered local information. Harbor master, Thaddeus's ships often returned Caribbean cargo unloaded at night by his personal slaves. Retired midwife, Constance hadn't aged in 20 years. During Thomas's birth she glimpsed strange shifting markings covering Constance's body. Most unsettling, Reverend James Sullivan of St. Philip's. Elderly, sharp-minded despite frailty, Sullivan remembered Thaddeus's arrival. Thaddeus Bellamy, not discussed since the unfortunate business with Lavo. Henri Lavo, a Frenchman from Santo Domingo, arrived with Thaddeus in 1760. Initial partners in shipping. Inseparable at first. After a year Lavo vanished. Thaddeus claimed return to France. Rumors said Lavo discovered something terrible and threatened exposure. Lavo had come to Sullivan in distress, speaking of ancient rituals, sacrifices to entities older than Christianity. Claimed Thaddeus brought knowledge, a way to commune with them, from the old world. A week later dismembered body parts washed ashore, head never found. Lavo left a French journal for safekeeping, stolen after disappearance. Lavo mentioned the Order of the Eternal Dawn, Thaddeus initiated in London. Worshipped ancient ones, or those who wait beyond. Goal, immortality through abhorrent rituals. Sullivan warned, something in that man's eyes does not belong in a child of God. If investigating Bellamy's, proceed with extreme caution. His influence reaches deep, government, trade, even church. In early June the Edinburgh reply arrived, confirming colonial occult accounts, especially New England previous century. Enclosed, 1692 anonymous journal, Salem era, detailing Order of the Eternal Dawn seeking communion with older ones dwelling before mankind. The journal, spidery faded script, recorded an infiltrator's account. Order founded England, established Massachusetts Guy's Philosophical Society. True nature, blood sacrifice, initially animals, later humans, indentured or native, during astronomical alignments to pierce dimensional veil. Successful rituals brought shifting entities, defying flesh constraints. Direct gaze caused bleeding eyes/ears. Offerings rewarded with marks granting power. Order fled south after Salem trials, triggered by botched ritual exposing young women to madness-inducing energies. Inner Circle drank Caribbean plant tea mixed with human blood under dark moon, slowing aging, altering nature. Consumers became neither fully human nor other, ageless outwardly, inwardly transformed, hearing constant whispers promising power for service/sacrifice. Journal ended mid-sentence. Author likely killed. Colleague Fraser noted, while partly hysteria, details aligned with Haiti/Jamaica syncretic practices. Urged caution, knowledge dangerous when guarded by self-interested parties. That night Blackwood dreamed of Victoria at a dark pool's edge, gown billowing, water glowing from within with serpentine lights. She turned, face splitting, revealing ancient inhumanity beneath. Tendrils reached, promising forbidden knowledge/power. He woke sweat-soaked as dawn painted Charleston rose gold. Despite unease, Blackwood couldn't abandon investigation, too many lives potentially at stake. He manufactured visits, treating coughs, burns, observing symbols on doorframes, cold spots, tile patterns echoing teacup markings. Which house remained inaccessible, deep inside property, watched by ever-present blank-eyed servants redirecting him. Family interactions constrained, Thaddeus often absent, Constance polite but distant, Nathaniel avoided him, Victoria watched from windows/doors, expression unreadable. In late June he encountered young Thomas reading Milton under an oak. Sensitive, poetry-loving Thomas seemed out of place among family arrogance. Absorbed until Blackwood's shadow fell. Startled, Thomas slammed book, expecting rebuke. Fond of Milton. Thomas relaxed slightly. His words comfort me. The mind is its own place, can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. Sometimes I feel Raven's Rest is both. How so? This place changes people. Father, Nathaniel, even Victoria, they speak of legacy, power, knowledge passed down. But I've seen what it demands. He shuddered. The witch house, they take people there. People who disappear. What happens inside? Thomas's eyes filled with tears. I'm not supposed to know. Last year, dark moon, I followed. Saw a man tied to stone table. Father, Nathaniel, Victoria, mother, all in red robes. Others too, Charleston families you'd recognize. They cut him, collected blood in silver bowl. Then something emerged from shadows behind table, moved wrong, too many limbs or not enough. He buried face in hands. I ran. Never told anyone. Father would say I'm old enough for initiation, but I don't want it. I dream of that thing, it speaks in sleep, says I belong to it. Please help me, doctor. Get me away before next dark moon, July 11th. They're planning something special. Stars align perfectly. Bringing people for weeks, keeping in cellar beneath which house. Father told Nathaniel this ceremony culminates decades of preparation, older ones bestow greatest gift, transformation. Into what? Something beyond human. Doesn't age or die. Father calls it evolution's next step. But I've seen chosen servants return changed, move differently, eyes don't track right, obey without question no matter what. Blackwood promised help, mind racing. Servant state wasn't mere hypnosis or drugs, something fundamental altered their essence. Before more could be said, Victoria appeared, calm mask not reaching eyes. Thomas, mother asks for you. Dr. Blackwood, father wishes to speak before you leave. Thomas hurried away fearfully. Victoria watched him go, brief softening, then turned cold. You've asked questions about my family in Charleston. Unwise. Blackwood met her gaze despite chill. The witty beauty he danced with seemed replaced by something alien. I'm concerned, for you, Thomas, all of you, whatever your father pursues. You know nothing of my father or our ways. We preserve knowledge that would sear ordinary minds. Commune with powers predating your Christian God. Victoria, this isn't you. Whatever hold he has. Influence. Cold laugh. I am Bellamy. Covenant blood flows in my veins. I've tasted eternity, nothing else satisfies. Closer, metallic ancient scent beneath perfume. I could show you. Father sees potential. Join us. Live centuries, not decades. At what cost? Innocent lives. Your humanity. Flicker, doubt, quickly extinguished. Face hardened, cheekbones sharpening as if something wore her skin poorly. Humanity is brief candle. What we offer, eternal flame. She turned, movements too fluid, too precise. Do not return unless prepared to embrace our path. Stop filling Thomas's head with escape. There is no escape from what we are. Blackwood knew action was urgent, Thomas in peril, perhaps others. July 11th ritual must be stopped. But one man against generations-old secret society with elite members. Direct confrontation impossible. Scientific training taught even mystical phenomena possessed mechanisms, if understood, disruptible. Authorities proved useless, Bellamy's too connected, donations lining pockets. Accusations met skepticism, derision. One magistrate suggested Blackwood treat his own imagination, perhaps jealousy of Bellamy's success. Only sailor mention shifted magistrate's amusement to cold watchfulness resembling Thaddeus. Enough discussion. Friendly advice, Charleston values discretion, neighbor privacy. Continue wild tales, your practice may suffer. Outside, Bellamy crested black carriage waited. Driver motionless, eyes tracking Blackwood. Message clear, cult infiltrated institutions meant to oppose it. Official channels alerted enemies. Blackwood prepared alone. Packed satchel, pistol, scalpels, laudanum vial, opium tincture for unconsciousness, bandages. From Sullivan, silver crucifix, holy water, doubted efficacy. Detailed Raven's Rest map from surveyor, after generous fee, noting which house location, approaches. Days to July 11th crawled. Blackwood maintained routine, patience, social events, feeling detached from trivial Charleston gossip. Wondered which dinner guests belonged to Eternal Dawn. Final Thomas contact attempt, coded note via free black messenger, returned unanswered. Gates heavily guarded. July 10th night, Blackwood rode out after midnight. Dark clothes, ash-smeared face. Loaded pistol in waistband. Laudanum, holy water, salt pouch, journal claimed anathema to entities. Hot oppressive night, cicadas pulsing alien rhythm. Clear stars blazed intensely, as if heavens watched. Raven's Rest loomed, white columns ghostly. Main house mostly dark, few lower windows lit. Avoided drive, circled through fields to tree copse half-mile away. Tethered horse with stream water, continued on foot. Slave quarters unnaturally silent, no voices, songs, children. Stillness suggested absence or restraint. Approached witch house rear, using shrubs for cover. Squat windowless stone absorbed starlight. Air cooler, perpetual autumn microclimate. Faint glow beneath heavy door, guttural chanting inside, no recognizable language. Hid behind gnarled oak, waited. Chant rose/fell, trance-inducing. Despite skepticism, Blackwood swayed, eyelids heavy. Pinched wrist sharply, broke spell, stuffed cloth in ears. Carriages arrived intermittently, prominent Charlestonians, harsh sentencing judge, Caribbean trade merchants, dismissing magistrate, prestigious clergyman, collar visible. Each performed ritual gesture, forehead, heart, pendant, before entering. Carriages withdrew to stables. As dawn neared, chanting stopped, visitors departed ecstatic, exhausted, shared glances/touches implying wordless experience. Departed time to avoid procession. Blackwood nearly retreated, door opened again. Thaddeus and Nathaniel half-carried laborer, unconscious/drugged, forearms/throat shallow ritual cuts. Taken to outbuilding near main house. Blackwood withdrew, resolved to return. Dark moon night, end horror. Day passed agonizingly slow. Tried resting, failed. Mind replayed procession, chanting, Thomas trapped. Brief afternoon sleep brought vivid nightmare, transparent roofed witch house, robed figures circling altar, Thomas bound, terrified. Thaddeus with curved dagger, behind him shifting dark mass, eyes, limbs, mouths constantly reconfiguring. Woke gasping, sweat-soaked, fearing astral projection or mental reach from Raven's Rest. Reread Edinburgh Journal, found overlooked passage, entities vulnerable to salt, burns flesh, burning sage smoke, disrupts communion, cold-forged iron, dispels manifestations. Greatest weakness, ritual interruption at apex, thinnest veil, backlash destroys manifestation and summoners. Salem example, unexpected eclipse disrupted alignment, entity turned on worshippers. Blackwood added, salt pouch, sage bundles, iron poker, landlady's hearth, ungainly but potentially effective. Penn Sullivan letter, detailing order/Bellamy involvement, instructing open/forward Boston/Philadelphia if not returned by noon next day. Journey felt shorter, road familiar. Cloudy night, near total darkness, better cover, harder navigation. Used memory and star glimpses. Raven's Rest blazed, torches lining drive/house to witch house path. Hooded red-robed figures carried vessels/herbs/animals. From wood's edge Blackwood watched procession form, Thaddeus leading, Constance, Nathaniel, Victoria behind. Thaddeus in deep crimson, near black, robes, gold symbols, dark metal circlet with glowing stones. Constance/Nathaniel lighter crimson, Victoria pure white. Dozen others, recognized judge, merchants, magistrate, clergyman, others wealthy striding strangers. Rear, two large men dragged struggling Thomas, white shift, bare feet, wrists bound braided hair cord. Face terror contorted, fighting uselessly against blank expression captors. No. I won't, you can't make me. Thaddeus ignored, procession moved to witch house. Blackwood circled, positioned near door. Interior candlelit circular chamber, central blood-stained stone altar, red spiraling floor symbols hurting eyes. Air thick cloying incense, underneath musty decay like open graves, death refusing finality. Thaddeus entered, arms raised. Brothers and sisters, tonight stars align as not in century. Veil thins, those who wait beyond here call. Tonight purest sacrifice, blood of my line, freely given by one come of age. Murmurs anticipation/reverence, several swayed trance-like. Thomas dragged forward, still protesting. Not freely given, I don't want, Father please. Thaddeus turned, features subtly angular, less human, eyes glowing matching circlet stones. You will embrace heritage. Bellamy covenant blood flows generations. Tonight you take place among us. Thomas passed Blackwood, eyes met, recognition, desperate hope. Opportunity. Last cultists entered, only two restraining Thomas near door. Blackwood stepped out, fired pistol, shoulder hit. Deafening crack silenced insects. Wounded man fell, Nathaniel advanced grim. Victoria hesitated, eyes meeting Blackwood, unreadable. Victoria, you know wrong. Help us. Torn moment, then fluid motion, dagger from robe, plunged into Nathaniel's chest. Run, she screamed. I'll hold them. Nathaniel staggered, blood blooming. Cultists froze in shock. Thaddeus roared, lunged daughter. Blackwood seized, pulled Thomas doorward, glanced back, Victoria doorway, arms spread blocking, behind her shadows coalescing, massive shapeless, too many limbs/eyes. Don't look back, just run. Sprinted open ground, torchlit, vulnerable. Pursuit organized, shouts, pounding feet. Pistol shots, ball past ear, another dirt spray near Thomas' feet. Thomas stumbled, Blackwood caught, kept moving. Can't, too weak, preparation drugged. You can, just further, trees cover. Plunged woods, canopy blotting stars, ran blind, branches whipping, roots tripping, pursuit closer. Down ravine, muddy footprints unavoidable, speed over stealth now. Reached grove, horse nervous. Pursuit faded momentarily, lost trail or split. Helped Thomas mount, tremor shook ground, not earthquake, localized, like massive drop. Horse whinnied, nearly through Thomas. Witch house pulsed unearthly nauseating spectrum light, colors beyond perception. Shadows stretched tentacle-like, blacker than night, devouring torchlight. What's happening? Don't know, far as possible. Terrible scream, Victoria, agony and triumph, stretched beyond lungs, higher/alien, beyond hearing, ear pressure, dread stone stomach. Light intensified, pillar-piercing clouds, vortex descended finger-like. Wind whipped, ozone plus cloying rot, coating throats/lungs. Ritual wrong, Victoria sacrifice, not pattern, older ones coming through, no control. Stronger tremor, distant screams, shadows enveloping house/quarters, silence after. Blackwood spurred horse, rode hard, reached Charleston pre-dawn, city stirring, unaware horror northwest. Took Thomas to Sullivan, boy collapsed exhaustion/terror. Told Reverend everything. Interrupted apex, if journal correct, dire consequences order, anyone Raven's rest. Sullivan grave, entities indifferent human morality, forces ancient/powerful. Unleashed uncontrolled. Alert authorities, little hope local, Sullivan right Philadelphia/Boston influence, no Charleston ties, time delay. Protected Thomas, surviving members seek revenge/value blood. Blackwood stay, until full extent known. News arrived same day, disaster Raven's rest. Witnesses, fire night consumed stone outbuilding, spread main house. Smoke column black, straight up defying wind. Approachers, unnatural darkness surrounded, repelled penetration. Voices multi-layered chanting, no language. Shapes moved smoke, too many legs/wings. Morning, entire plantation ablaze, unnatural intensity, stone/brick consumed like wood. Water evaporated contact, fire breaks failed halt. No heat beyond boundaries, light painfully bright. No survivors, no bodies, charred/intact. Inhabitants vanished, consumed unleashed force. Days following, truth emerged, order protection gone, suspicions voiced. Ledger's Thaddeus office, decades missing persons, laborers/sailors/drifters, contact Bellamy Enterprises, annotated cryptic symbols which house. Hidden journals, Thaddeus hand, detailed order rituals, communion older ones. Bargain London, entity offered knowledge/power/service/sacrifice. Visions wealth/influence/centuries, establish New World foothold, barrier thin indigenous beliefs. With Henri Laveau, Haitian Vodou initiate, identified South Carolina, plantation system sacrificial supply, elites corruptible/recruitable. Shocking, member list, prominent citizens, magistrate third circle, judge covenant keeper, merchants, clergymen, governor's secretary. Many fled, families/wealth, properties/businesses/ships abandoned overnight. Remaining claimed coercion/deception, few believed. Sullivan week later, order influence deeper suspected, explains Charleston prosperity war/hardship, certain venture success, health/illness patterns, members themselves. Blackwood, physical transformations sustained contact, Thaddeus vigor, Constance agelessness, Victoria final skin movements. Journals, dreams inhabiting others' bodies, centuries-old memories, appetites beyond human. Thomas, sole survivor, adopted Sullivan. Spoke little, nightmares years, shadows too many eyes, sister sacrifice, father worshipped hunger. Under guidance, peace, religious studies/charity, atonement. Later founded Bellamy Trust, researched/combated occult, missing persons/cult activity New England to frontier. Never married, bloodline end him, taint not past. Blackwood remained Charleston, settled Thomas, testimony Philadelphia investigators. Account plus journals plus leniency seeking members equals sealed federal report. Troubled, fearing retribution, departed Boston, new practice, research shifted consciousness/alteration external forces. Papers perception malleability/collective belief material reality, acclaim/controversy. 1798 Egypt expedition, ancient practices possibly linked entities. Never returned. Last letter, symbols identical Raven's rest, chamber beneath Sphinx. Entered alone, vanished, no trace. Later decades, reports white-haired physician remote North Africa/Middle East, indeterminate age, uncanny languages/customs knowledge. Ruins ravens rest untouched decades, cursed land. Strange lights moonless nights, unearthly sounds, shadows moving against wind. Wilderness reclaimed, only reminder small St. Philip's marker, Thomas name, death 1845. Bellamy legacy endured, similar cults south, eerie parallels eternal dawn. Some claimed direct descent, escaped conflagration knowledge/power intact. 1819 Savannah Massacre, linked group. 1837 New Orleans family, sacrificing slaves identical rituals. 1851 Ship captain, red-robed figures ceremony uninhabited Carolina coast, island, unnatural bending light. Rumors persist, secret society Bellamy origins, wealthiest/influential American families. Gather dark moon, thin veil places, commune entities older humanity. Possess secret, past generations, Bellamy unnatural wealth/longevity. Truth to rumors. Fragment survived. Entities still wait, hungry blood/devotion. Perhaps secrets best buried history ashes. Yet Thomas Bellamy's soul statement 1799, patient, these things my father served. Beyond time known. Wait, one day stars align again, find new servants open door. Sleep well, dear viewers. Tonight perhaps check doors locked, windows securely fastened. In history's darkest corners, some shadows never truly fade. This has been Legacy of Blood. Until next time, remember, the past is never truly dead. It's not even past.